What is up, guys, and welcome back to another video. Today I have my top 10, and actually I'm going to give you my top 25 after week 10 of college football. And oh boy, this might be the craziest week of college football. So many upsets. Unfortunately, my Crimson Tide got upset. Very sad for me. But that shook up the rankings a lot. Of course, you had the intensely hyped game between Georgia and Tennessee, which shook up rankings. And I'll talk about all that and a little bit more in a minute. But thank you for clicking on this video. If you clicked on this video, I'm going to assume you love college football. And so do I. I talk about it daily. So if you love college football, you'll love my channel. But let's get into it. I won't give my justification, my reasoning for 25 through 14. I'm just going to name them off. At 25, I have Coastal Carolina. They are 8-1. At 24, I have Syracuse. They are 6-3. At 23, I have Florida State. They are 6-3. At 22, I have NC State. They are 7-2. At 21, I have Liberty. They are 8-1. At 20, I have Tulane. They are 8-1. At number 19, I have the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. They are 6-3. At 18, I have Illinois. They are 7-2. At 17, I have the Washington Huskies. They are 7-2. At 16, I have the Texas Longhorns. They are 6-3. And at 15, I have the Penn State Nittany Lions. They are 7-2. And at 14, I have the North Carolina Tar Heels. They are only 8-1. So that's 25 through 14. I'm not going to justify those, but, ask me in the comments if you just think there's something crazy in there, and hell, you might change my mind. But let's start off with my top 13. At number 13, falling all the way from number 6 in my poll, all the way from my last poll where I had them at number 6. At number 13, I have the Clemson Tigers. I know Clemson fan 1 might not like this, but yeah, I have them falling all the way to 13. And it just comes with the fact that Clemson doesn't have an impressive win anymore. I mean, now to be fair, they have wins over 3 teams I just put in my top 25. But those teams are 3-loss Syracuse, a 3-loss Florida State, and a 2-loss NC State. And I put them in my top 25, but a lot of the reasons they're even in there is just because the ACC is so weak. And then Clemson just got blown out. Utterly destroyed by a bad Notre Dame team this week. So I had to drop them to 13. 8-1, only loss coming to Notre Dame this past week, 35-14. But honestly, 35-14 doesn't do it justice. Clemson got absolutely slaughtered by Notre Dame, and what a big comeback for Notre Dame. They made a big boost in my rankings, all the way to number 19. And they deserve it. They played super well. They're a super talented team. They didn't start off the season well, but hey, they're getting it now. But Clemson, just blown out by Notre Dame. Very bad showing for them. They tried Cade Klubnik and DJ Uiagalelei in the game, and both of them just couldn't do anything. And this is a bad loss for Clemson, and it really, really hurts their playoff chances. And I don't think they're dead in the water like some people do. I think there's still a pretty good shot for them to make the playoffs. Just win out and have a little bit of help, and I think they could get in. A lot of help, maybe, but I think they could get in. But I have them at number 13. At number 12, I have the Ole Miss Rebels. Ole Miss is 8-1. This past weekend, they were on a bye, but number 12, their loss now is looking a lot better as Ole Miss, LSU is a top 10 team. Now, obviously, this past weekend, LSU upsetting Alabama, unfortunately. But that looks like a lot better of a loss. It didn't look as good of a loss at the time, But now it looks like a so much better loss. Now, it's still an 18-point loss to a 2-loss team. That's not great. But it was on the road in Baton Rouge. And you know what? You lose to a top 10 LSU team with a lot of talent and a great coach. And that's your only loss on the year? I think it can be excused. I have Ole Miss at 8-1 and at 12. At 11, I have my Alabama Crimson Tide just falling outside the top 10. And it hurts to do it, but hey, we don't deserve to be in the top 10, in my opinion. We have a lot of talented players, obviously. That's why I have us ahead of some other teams like North Carolina, Penn State, and some other teams below us, but it's not enough. I mean, our coordinators, I watched my rant I did yesterday. That'll explain a lot of my thoughts, so I don't want to get too much into depth here. But Alabama, their coordinators, the offensive, defensive play calling and scheming is terrible, downright atrocious. And it doesn't matter how many good players you got if you can't scheme and can't play call well. It don't mean nothing. But I mean, we're not gonna pretend like Alabama is not Alabama. Alabama is still Alabama. Teams are still rushing the field. We're still the standard. And, you know, 2 top 10 teams on the road this year, 2 of our biggest rivals, and we lost by a combined 4 points, both on last-second plays. It's not the worst in the world. It could be a lot worse. But yeah, I have Alabama at 11, 7-2. And they play Ole Miss this weekend, my 11 versus my number 12. We'll see how that goes. But getting into my top 10, I have the USC Trojans at 8-1. USC, man, they could really make a push to get in the playoff, in my opinion. Only 8-1. They had a 1-point loss to Utah. But other than that, they've looked pretty good. Now, they have struggled against teams. They struggled this past weekend versus Cal, only beating them by 6. They've struggled against teams like Oregon State, even though Oregon State's pretty decent. They only beat them by 3. But USC is still a really good team. A top 10 offense, number 9 in the nation in offense. So we're still really good. Lincoln Riley's still an offensive genius. And Caleb Williams is a great quarterback. USC has really talented players. I have them at number 10. At number 9, though, I have Utah. A lot of people are sleeping on them, but I don't think they should. I mean, 9 Utah, a lot of people are giving benefit of the doubt to teams like LSU for losing week 1 to Florida State, and they say, oh, it was week 1. Or Oregon, who got blown out by Georgia, and they say, oh, it was week 1. Why aren't we giving more benefit to Utah? They are a 2-loss team. And one of their only losses came to a, maybe not a great Florida team, but a good Florida, a talented Florida team. In week 1 at the Swamp, one of the hardest places to play. And other than that, they only have 1 loss on the season. So I'm really high on Utah. I think Utah is really good. They have the 25th ranked offense. Cam Rising is a veteran quarterback. And I just think Utah's good, and I don't see how you can have USC over them when Utah just beat USC in a head-to-head not too long ago, maybe 3 weeks ago. So I don't really see how you can have USC over them. But we'll see as Utah plays Oregon here in a couple weeks. That'll be a fun matchup. At number 8, I have LSU. Oh, I hate to do it. I really do. I can't stand LSU, one of my most hated teams in college football. But I got to give credit where it's due. I didn't say this in yesterday's video, but I left a comment pinned. I went on a whole rant yesterday, but I just want to say congratulations to the LSU Tigers. Y'all played one hell of a ball game. Shout out to the fans, even though y'all aren't my favorite. Y'all make Death Valley a super hard place to play. And y'all really do directly contribute to the team's success in a way. making just Death Valley just a horrible place to play in for other teams. And LSU, man, like I said, that one of their only losses coming to a Florida State team in week 1 where they lost on this missed extra point. That was crazy. Other than that, they beat Alabama, and their only other loss was to Tennessee. Now, a Tennessee team that doesn't look as good now because of their loss to Georgia, but a Tennessee team nonetheless. So LSU's really good. Brian Kelly's a good coach. A really good coach. I clowned Brian Kelly's hire at the time. I didn't think he'd last in the SEC, and I just say it right now. I'll eat my words. I was wrong. I was wrong about Brian Kelly. He's an amazing coach. And with more talent down at LSU, he's doing even bigger and better things at LSU than he did at Notre Dame. And now LSU, a very slim chance, but a possible chance at the college football playoff. LSU 7-2. This week, they go and play Arkansas, and if they get the win, they secure the SEC West. Unfortunately, roll Tide roll. That's enough about LSU. At number 7, I have the UCLA Bruins. The Bruins, 8-1. A top 5 offense, the number 5 offense in the country. Coached by experienced coach Chip Kelly, with a great quarterback in Dorian Thompson-Robinson. And their only loss came to a very good Oregon team. So UCLA still has a chance at the college football playoff. I still think they're very good. This past weekend, they beat Arizona State 50-36. Yeah, man. UCLA still very good. Number 7. This week, they go and play Arizona. At number 6, I have the Oregon Ducks. Now, Oregon obviously losing week 1 to Georgia. And not only losing, they got blown out 49-3. Which looks really bad for them now and looks insanely impressive for Georgia because of how well Oregon's played since then, not losing a single game since then. I mean, if Oregon didn't schedule that game, they decided to go with a little bit easier of an opponent, Oregon could be a top 3 team right now. They could be undefeated. They go with an easier team scheduled instead of Georgia. But Oregon, Bo Nix is my least favorite player in college football history. But he's popping off right now, man. And I'll talk about him a little bit later in my Heisman video. Yes, unfortunately, Bo Nix and Heisman are in the same sentence. But he's doing great things at Oregon. And this week, they have a matchup that I'm really excited for. Oregon versus Washington. Washington, number 17 in my poll. Only 2 losses on the season. Michael Penix versus Bo Nix. That'll be a matchup I'll be excited to watch. At number 5, my highest rated 1-loss team, I have the Tennessee Volunteers. Don't sleep on Tennessee. I know they got obliterated by Georgia, but they still have the top-rated offense in the entire country, and they have the second hardest strength of schedule in the entire country. So the fact they're 8-1 still says a lot about me. They still beat Alabama. They still slaughtered LSU. So don't give me that about Tennessee should be lower or, oh, they're not good now. No, they still have a great shot at making the college football playoff if things go their way. The only scenario that really screws Tennessee is if LSU beats Georgia, which would be insane, and I don't think it's going to happen. But other than that, Tennessee still, I'm serious. Tennessee still has a great shot at the college football playoff right now. But obviously this last weekend, losing to Georgia 13-27, and that doesn't do it justice. Georgia dominated. Georgia straight up dominated. Tennessee couldn't do nothing on offense. I said they still have the number 1 rated offense, but that really mean anything? Tennessee's offense got shut down versus Georgia. That Georgia pass rush was insane. The Georgia defensive backs locked them up all game. But Tennessee still having a great year, even though I hate to say that. And this week, they go play Missouri. Starting off my undefeateds, at number 4, I have TCU, a team that hasn't got a lot of respect this season. But I mean, it's about time to give it to them. We're 10 weeks through the college football season, and TCU is still undefeated at 9-0. And not only that, but TCU has a top 5 offense, a number 4 ranked offense, and a great quarterback in Max Duggan, hooking up with a great wide receiver in Quentin Johnson. Quentin Johnson, I believe is his name. If it's not, I just had a brain fart. But Quentin Johnson. So it's time to put respect on TCU name. Sonny Dykes in his first year is having an amazing first year. And they are the Big 12's last hope at making the college football playoff. This past weekend, they beat Texas Tech 34-24. And this weekend, they have a much anticipated matchup with the number 16 in my poll, the number 16 ranked Texas Longhorns. Starting off my top 3, and I think this is pretty much unanimous. At number 3, I have Michigan. Michigan, undefeated. I didn't really see them having this caliber of season to start the year, but they are having it. J.J. McCarthy, playing really good. Blake Corum, a Heisman candidate. Plus, you have Donovan Edwards in the backfield. Amazing backfield. The defense is playing solid. I mean, Michigan, a top 25 offense, and the number 2 ranked defense in the entire country. Michigan's playing great. They destroyed, in my opinion, a top 15 Penn State team. And we'll see. They play Nebraska this weekend, which should be a much more, it's historically rich, but it's not really rich right now because Nebraska's not on top like they used to be, to say the least. But a couple weeks they go play a top 20 Illinois team, and then obviously rivalry week, which is coming up faster than you may realize. They go play the Ohio State Buckeyes. And that leads me into my next point. Give me number 2, Ohio State, 9-0, undefeated. This past weekend, they struggled with Northwestern, but I'm not going to hold that against them too much. I mean, first of all, the weather was terrible. The weather was just god awful. So I'll give them a little bit of a pass. I still don't think they should have struggled as much as they did. Northwestern, maybe the worst Power 5 team. So, still, 21-7, I still think they should have won by more. But I can't blame them too much as Northwestern, in the rain takes away their most powerful super weapon, that is C.J. Stroud. But Ohio State still getting the victory. So you got to give them credit. Number 2, Ohio State, still very good. Ohio State with the top 15 offense, a top 10 defense, and one of the hardest schedules in college football. At number 1, though, they've been my number 1 all year long, and they should be your number 1 at this point, too. It's the Georgia Bulldogs. I say, unfortunately, I'm not a big Georgia fan, obviously, Roll Tide, but I got to give respect, and I've been giving them respect all season. Like I say, the defending champions are number 1 until they lose. And just for this reason right here, I mean, they just smacked Tennessee 27-13. Georgia dominated. Their defense shut Tennessee down. Their offense was clicking on all cylinders. The only reason this game wasn't more of a 40-13 game was because it rained through the third quarter and Georgia ran the ball for about 9 minutes straight in the third quarter. Or it could have been even more of a blowout. So Georgia, the consensus number 1, and it looks like they could go back to back. I mean, Georgia really right now, they are in a tier of their own right now in college football. Kirby Smart, just an amazing coach, built by Bama. Or really built by Georgia first. I'll give him credit. He played for Georgia. But, coached for Bama for a long time as defensive coordinator. This weekend, they go play a decent Mississippi State team. A team we all expect, a game we all expect Georgia to win. Now, they do go on the road at Mississippi State. And Mississippi State, Davis Wade Stadium, a underrated place to play. Very good energy in that stadium. But I still think Georgia will get the job done. But that's for my prediction video coming out probably Friday. But that's my top 25, and I'll recap it again before I leave. 25-1. 25, Coastal Carolina. 24, the Syracuse Orange. 23, the Florida State Seminoles. 22, the NC State Wolfpack. 21, the Liberty Flames. 20, the Tulane Green Wave. Number 19, the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. At number 18, the Illinois Fighting Illini. At number 17, the Washington Huskies. At number 16, the Texas Longhorns. At number 15, the Penn State Nittany Lions. At number 14, the North Carolina Tar Heels. At number 13, the Clemson Tigers. At number 12, the Ole Miss Rebels. At number 11, the Alabama Crimson Tide. At number 10, the USC Trojans. At number 9, the Utah Utes. At number 8, the LSU Fighting Tigers. At number 7, the UCLA Bruins. At number 6, the Oregon Ducks. At number 5, the Tennessee Volunteers. At number 4, the TCU Horned Frogs. At number 3, the Michigan Wolverines. At number 2, the Ohio State Buckeyes. And at number 1, the Georgia Bulldogs. Thank you for watching this video. And leave me a comment below. What are your rankings? But thank you for watching. Peace out.